This episode of Flawless TV is all about these macaroons. I'm making Christmas cookie gifts, and this is my favorite cookie in the box. It is an orange blossom with brandied chocolate ganache macaroon. It is to die for, and it literally tastes like Christmas Day itself. To make the meringue for my macaroon, I'm going to start actually with my food processor. Even though almond flour generally always says super fine, it's not fine enough for a macaroon meringue. So I'm going to also weigh everything that I am about to work with, because baking is precise, but making meringue for a macaroon is really precise. So let's put the bowl of my food processor right onto my scale. And I'm gonna zero out, of course, my scale. And I need 140 grams of almond flour. There we go. And 130 grams, which is almost a half a cup of confectioner's sugar. So let me zero that out again. And 130 grams of confectioner's sugar. Great. Let's give this a pulse, pulse, pulse. Great. I don't want to turn it into almond butter, but I do want to make sure that all those little pieces are broken up. I'm also going to scrape down the bowl a little bit because the blade can sometimes get those little pieces, the fine pieces, caught underneath it and cause their own chunks. You can't have any chunks. Great, this is ready to go into the egg whites when we're at that point. I am gonna sift it one more time though, so it's super, super fine. Let's dump this into here. Actually, this comes off. Oh my gosh, be careful of that. I love that the lid is totally detachable, but make sure to detach it before you set it aside. Now I'm just gonna sift this through, and any big chunks that are left after that are just not gonna get invited to the party. They don't get to come. See, there's like a few little pieces still left. I love this smooth look of this dry mixture. Our macaroons are gonna turn out great. Let's set that aside. Let's set this carefully aside and start to whip our, I'm very clumsy today. It's okay. We're making the most precise thing you can cook, and I am being very clumsy. It's okay, we're gonna make it. Okay, I'm gonna bring this over just a little bit because I want a really good view into the situation of my egg whites. Before I put anything in this bowl, I have made sure it is so clean. If there's any residual fat, like from the butter batter that of the cookies I had just made previously, left in this bowl, it will not allow our egg whites to get stiff. It's really important that they get stiff. So I have wiped down my bowl and my whisk attachment with white vinegar. I made sure that that's dry, and now my bowl and my whisk are ready to go in my stand mixer. Now, the best tool to use for to separate egg whites from egg yolks are your hands, nice clean hands. So I need 3 egg whites. So I am going to, again, use my scale because sometimes based on the size of the eggs, 3 egg whites might be more than 100 grams, and I need 100 grams of egg whites. So let's see if 3 does the trick. Okay. Great. See, and I just let the whites drip through my fingers. All right, we're up to 50 grams. Aren't these beautiful heirloom eggs? And they're a little bit small. It might take 4 eggs to get to our 100 grams. 103, that's okay. I'm just gonna steal a little bit back out. Egg whites into my very clean bowl of my stand mixer. And we're off. I'm gonna let that just start to get a little bit of a froth on it. And then I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar. Cream of tartar is actually a byproduct of winemaking. So go figure, we have to use it in flawless cooking. Just kidding. But it is an acid, but it's a great acid because it is powder. And adding any liquid to your egg whites can affect or make it more difficult to make them stiff peaks. Great. Just making sure that I see that cream of tartar breaking up. Otherwise, I could just stop the mixer and scrape down the bowl. It looks like it's incorporating really well. All right, we're gonna see this go from this liquid to a beautiful, white, airy, glorious meringue. Takes a while though. We gotta let it roll and roll and roll. All right, I have a good frothy mixture happening in the bowl. Right now it's cream of tartar and the egg whites. It's starting to feel fluffy and cloudy, so I am going to very slowly, like I have all the time in the world, add 1 cup of granulated sugar. That's 90 grams of granulated white sugar. Great to use super fine, but if you just have regular granulated sugar, that's fine. The key is to add it slowly. The slow adding of the sugar also helps it dissolve. So this is French meringue, which means that the sugar going in are pieces rather than a simple syrup that is an Italian meringue or Swiss meringue. So by adding it slowly, it's giving the egg whites a chance to absorb it and dissolve that sugar. I am going to scrape down the bowl to make sure that we don't have any cream of tartar or sugar granules riding up the side, and that they're all getting dissolved in this beautiful meringue. Look at that. It's already looking quite stiff. Mixing it just a little bit more, and then we're gonna add our flavoring. Excellent. Into the bowl, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and this divine stuff, orange blossom. Oh, it's so beautiful. Of course it has a citrus, but it also has almost a pine, like pine and citrus mixed together. I think it's just flawless for the holidays. Okay, so 1 teaspoon of orange blossom. Let her rip. Let's add 3 drops of orange gel coloring. 1, 2, 3. This is the magic part. Scrape down the bowl again. All right, let's see if we have stiff enough peaks. Look, that looks pretty darn stiff. It's like standing up at attention. But the real test is if I can put this upside down. Yep, it's ready. Oh, that orange blossom smells heavenly. All right, so empty all of this beautiful meringue off of my whisk attachment. And now we are going to fold in our dry ingredients. I am being gentle, but again, a folding motion is to just go around and then cut through. And I needed to gather everything together to make sure there was no leftover inconsistent parts in the bottom. So I'm going to add about 1/3 of our almond flour mixture. And then here I go. I'm going to fold and cut through. Go around and cut through. Go around and cut through. Now, you don't have to be as gentle as when you're folding in egg whites, let's say in a cake, like an angel food cake, because you do want to get all of the almond into this meringue, and that takes a little bit of a heavier hand, but you'll see. You can tell by really looking at it. You can see, based on the color, contrast between the almond flour and the meringue, if it's incorporating well or not. Folding, I added about half more of what was left. Okay, and the last bit of my almond flour mixture. All right. Okay, this is looking great. It looks incorporated, but the problem is it's not yet ready to be piped. And I can tell that because it has air bubbles that you can see on the surface, and that is not going to work. So I am going to now pop those air bubbles by smearing the meringue up the sides of the bowl. Yep, and then kind of see that all smush the air out and become more fluid. And you know you're done when you can draw a figure 8 that doesn't break with the batter. We're almost there. I'll show you what I mean. Yep, we got it. All right, let's add this to a piping bag with a wide circle tip. So, like that. And really try to do this without adding any air to the piping bag. Not always easy, but we'll try. We've got a few air bubbles. All right, all good, we got it. Now, piping it. All right, I have a cookie sheet with a rim. It captures the heat and helps it cook more evenly if it has a rim. And I am going to take my meringue, but I've already made a mess of this bag. Goodness. It's okay. I don't mind a sticky hand. I'm gonna just put a bit of meringue in the corners of my parchment to hold it in place on the cookie sheet. There. Okay, let's type our circles. So we go straight down, about the size of a quarter, stop squeezing, and twirl. Straight down, stop squeezing, and twirl. Straight down, stop squeezing, and twirl. These aren't going to expand much, but they do need air to cook evenly. So between the rows, I'm gonna put a good inch. Now that I have a tray full enough, I'm going to tap the tray to push the air bubbles up. And if you see any that aren't quite popping, you can coax it with a little skewer. This needs to sit and dry, air dry, before we put into a 300-degree oven. You'll know it's ready for the oven when you can touch the surface without mussing it up. It takes about 40 minutes. Depending on how humid it is outside, though, it could take a little longer, like an hour. So let's set this aside, finish the bag on our other cookie sheet, and start the ganache. To make our ganache, I'm going to use butter, 3 tablespoons, and some dark chocolate. Before I head over to the stove to melt it in a glass bowl over a double boiler, I'm gonna chop it. Ganache comes together much more easily. The chocolate melts more easily if it's chopped. You simply don't want to heat it too quickly or heat it too high, or your chocolate will break. It'll get all oily and terrible. So let's chop. Into our glass bowl. If I have pieces that are about the size of a mini chocolate chip, that works fine. You can also start just by using chocolate chips. But I really love a high quality chocolate. But there's so much flavor in our macaroon, in the cognac and Cointreau we're adding, in the orange blossom and vanilla flavors, that I probably didn't have to spend the extra money on fancy chocolate, but when it comes to chocolate, I think I just go for it. To the chocolate, I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of butter, and I'm gonna head over to the stove. I'm going to put this glass bowl on top of some gently simmering water and stir it a bit with a wooden spoon, and then come back over to whisk in these flavors. I've melted the chocolate and the butter on the stove over some water, and it looks beautiful. I'm gonna now add a 1/4 cup of heavy cream. Whisking away, whisking away. Adding that fat, just look at that shine. It's so beautiful. A 1/4 cup of Cointreau. Grand Marnier is also lovely. It's an orange flavored brandy or liqueur. Oh, you all wish you were at my house right now. This smells so good. I could probably just drink this as a soup. And maybe I will. No, maybe we don't need to put them in the meringues, macaroon, when you could have brandy, cognac, Cointreau soup with dark, amazing chocolate. All right, last but certainly not least, something that makes this ganache really vibrantly come alive is zest from one orange. Love a microplane, my goodness. Oh, if this doesn't smell like Christmas, I do not know what does. Oh, so good. Okay, this is ready to go, except it's too hot. After the macaroon meringues come out of the oven, cool completely. This will also be nice and cool. If I need to cool it a little bit faster, I can put it in the refrigerator for about 20 minutes, but I want it to be a little bit dense so that it's not sloppy. And I am going to then, when it cools down, put it into a piping bag with a tip. It just makes the process a lot easier in making the meringue come together. But let's let this cool down while our meringues finish baking, and then we'll put them together. Thanks for watching this episode of Flawless TV. Check out the full recipe and so many more at flawless.com through the link below. And if you liked this recipe, please remember to hit that like and subscribe button for future videos.